hours, I guess, that goes into, collectively, that goes into studying these subjects. I mean, all the reading, the watching, and the writing, and the listening to, and so forth. Do you think that, we, as a, I don't know if I want to call it research community, I don't know if we're supposed to set that kind of name on it, but anyway, do you think that we are, actually getting closer to some of this information in regards to, that we are understanding what the initiates or the illuminated ones actually are, their knowledge that they have, or are we just, dabbling, I guess, around in a lot of subjects that basically just waste our time? Do you think that we're getting close, to actually understanding what they were up to, so to speak?
Yeah, I think in a lot of senses it is clear that that information about what is going on in terms of geopolitics or occult ritual is becoming a lot more clear in the past couple hundred years for certain.
Yeah.
And I think people like Michael Tessarian always point this out, that we should be optimistic that we've learned this much.
Yeah.
In past times, people had no clue as to any of this. So.
Yeah. Exactly. We're in a time when again, and this is, I guess, something that is, in the New Age material, in that sense, that we are in an age of knowledge and of course revealing, in that sense that we are approaching this, and again, I'm very thankful for that we have the internet now, and hopefully it will, we will have this in this format for a while longer, so we can continue and grow, so to speak, because it feels like it is at least a kind of a loose network that is actually developing here, and it's great, to get in contact with, people like yourselves and a lot of researchers out there, and finally kind of build up our own little, loose network. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's important to, not necessarily collaborate, but kind of, keep in touch with people and be aware of what everyone is working on and bringing forward, because this information is all so fresh, the research, investigation, and, for many people it's brand new, never having encountered it before. But in terms of the internet, I agree with you 100%. I certainly hope that it continues in its present form, in some senses, where, anybody who is able can put up a website.
Yeah.
And in terms of how that goes, I know, at least in terms of business, it's integral now. So if the internet were gone or not freely available, I'm not sure how many businesses would function. At least that I'm working with myself. So.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That might be a reason for them to continue in the manner that they do now. I mean, we of course have the danger of censoring them. That seems to be a kind of a bit of a hot topic at the moment. I mean, there are many different, countries out there. They're actually just block different websites, and they set up, the internet service providers set up their own kind of a filter in regards to which site they allow and not. Do you think that this is a danger now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because not only is it, certain countries, but these certain countries are working with certain companies.
Sure.
That, allow this to happen. So it's definitely a danger, And I think it's important, anybody who's listening, if you're, interested in these subjects and you're, online, I would recommend not only just checking these things out, but if you can, download as much as possible and save it.
Yeah, exactly. We need to have the material, because we're in this again very favorable situation right now, at least, where a lot of this stuff is available, but I guess that's also one of the dangers. I don't know if what is it? YouTube is being sued now by Viacom, and a lot of people, have uploaded their material there, and a lot of documentaries are available on Video Google and YouTube. But I mean, if they take that stuff down, I mean that that has been a very useful tool, so to speak, for being able to get the documentaries out there. But hopefully, we can find new sources, at least, that we can continue to put up documentaries and so forth.
Yeah, I agree, and I can only hope that the continued advancement in information technology will aid that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that comes to mind is, of course, when we're speaking about all of these subjects, you mentioned, of course, Jake Cutsey earlier, and would you say that in regards to knowledge, do you get the feeling that you kind of have grown, spiritually in regards to the material that you read and that you dive into? Because I remember when I first began and reading a lot of this and began to put up the website and so forth, I could get the I really got the feeling that the most important stuff that I learned was in regards to the spiritual stuff, in regards to that, even learning about subjects like synchronicity and things like this. I actually went from being an atheist to actually believing in some kind of higher force or overmind, as you said before. Have you noticed that you've kind of gone through the same deal, or what's your background in regards to your spiritual aspects on this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Henrik. Let's see. I guess you could say that part of why I'm doing this is because a few years ago I began becoming more spiritual, wanting to learn more about religious heritage, and I've always been a big history buff. So not only was I interested in theology, but also the origin of the theology. Mm-hmm. And as I began to study more, it really forced me to take a really hard look at the things that I believed and why I believed them, and then throw them out and start over.
Yeah.
So yes, I think not only have I learned a lot, but I've become more spiritual, and it's like a more authentic spirituality for me, because now I believe things because I have thought about them and investigated them and know them, whereas before I believed things because I was told that's the way things were.
Yeah. I mean, if we are to get on a more mystical note, I mean, couldn't we say, in a sense, that what you're describing is a kind of an initiation?
In a sense, it certainly is. Because the initiation process involves, as always, a death and a rebirth.
Sure, exactly. So I mean, it's
or as some call it, a resurrection.
Yeah, it's the awakening mind that finally is coming to light. Yeah, exactly. One other thing that I really would like to dive into here today is in regards to an article that you wrote a while back. It is called Esoteric Astrology and New Age Implications, and this is fascinating stuff. I'd like to talk more about it if you can, and maybe kind of go through this from the top. I guess that you base this on a few other sources, Manly Hall and also Blavatsky that you mentioned earlier. But I guess we could begin on the note of that there is two ways of seeing astrology and the zodiac in general. Isn't that right?
That's right, and this is common to many occult concepts. So it's not just limited to astrology, but it's a great illustration of this idea. So the normal, what they call exoteric astrology for the masses, is, I think, what they call a geocentric model.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's the one we're all familiar with. You know, they put the horoscopes in the paper, and everybody's aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the esoteric is slightly different, and you have to actually either look or imagine the zodiac wheel to see how this works. Because basically, the esoteric model is heliocentric. So when you're thinking about a zodiac wheel, you're talking about the sun shining from one house of the zodiac across the wheel into the other house of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so currently we're in Pisces exoterically, but that's Virgo esoterically.
So that
means,
yeah.
you know, we're going into Leo instead of Aquarius, which has a lot of meaning for occult societies.
Absolutely. I mean, so what you're saying is that as it is now, as we view it, the sun is shining on. Okay. There is the question, of course, if we are actually in Pisces or Aquarius in the official term, of course, but the sun is shining towards Pisces or Aquarius now. Is that the exoteric?
That's right, the exoteric. So essentially, what you're talking about is worshiping the house of the sun's dwelling, not the target of its rays. So this house of the sun's dwelling, in this case, right now, would be Virgo.
And this is something, I guess, that both Manly Palmer Hall and Blavatsky wrote about and was aware of.
Yeah, and in fact, it was interesting because, before reading Secret Teachings, I'd never really encountered it before. So, and to be honest with you, Hall doesn't really spend all that much time talking about it. I mean, maybe a page or two at most.
Yeah.
And so I checked into Blavatsky more, who goes into great detail about this. And she confirms basically, exactly what he says, and takes it a lot further, talking about things like, in the ancient world, the zodiac only had 10 signs and not 12. Right? So Virgo and Scorpio was actually a single sign. They added Libra, and it split the two, so you then had Libra in between Virgo and Scorpio.
So,
and that relates, according to Blavatsky, to all kinds of things like the deluge, which is related to Pisces. He said Libra, the seventh sign, is related to Enoch. And then Scorpio is related to Cain, which led mankind to destruction. But according to the true doctrine of the wisdom religion, it indicated the degradation of the whole universe in its course from what she called evolution downward from the subjective to the objective.
Interesting. So we are speaking about the Scorpio, and I guess that this is, as you said, this connects with the biblical story of the Virgin and the serpent, because there is Scorpio is a lot of different signs, isn't that right?
Yeah, Scorpio, well, of course we all know it as the